You're a mum, you're a mum, you're a busy mum. Come listen to the Busy Mum podcast. Life hacks and inspiration for the busy modern mum.
Hi and welcome to the Busy Mum podcast. This podcast is sponsored by my fabulous accountant, Nicole Canali of Canali Tax and Accounting. If you want to hear more about Nicole, she was one of my first guests. I interviewed her on this podcast, episode 14. Check her out. Nicole is a great accountant and together with her team offers services such as data entry, bank recs, BAS for businesses, company tax returns and personal tax returns. She also has a great network of professionals around her and can help with all things financial. Give her a call on 1300 001 971 or email her at info@canalitaxaccounting.com.au. Now let's dive into that interview. Welcome to the Busy Mum podcast. How are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. This is great. So we were just talking off air about your podcast. Tell me about your podcast.
Well, I have a podcast called Nordic Mum podcast, which I started February, March this year. So as I was saying, I just put on my iPhone headset on my laptop. I recorded it. I did not do any editing, published them, and off they went. And I forget about it for like the 6 weeks. Then I went to have a check about it, like, someone has been listening to me. Okay, I might do some more. And then I started doing weekly basis. I make the decision that I want to do it weekly.
Yeah.
And first of all, I was just doing about parenting, the Finnish style of parenting, what's the difference, and areas of parenting that I was interested or were like hot topics that I wanted to talk about. And maybe it was almost like more like a venting to my audience about my kids. And
is it therapy? It's your own therapy.
It's very therapeutic, yes. And then I realized it's kind of lonely talking on podcasts on your own. And I started inviting business mothers that I know to come to the podcast and tell about their journey. And it kind of has evolved to be more about mothers in business, women in business, and how they got started, where they are, and how they ended up where they are, and giving tips and tricks to the listeners of mothers or women who want to start their own business and what they should be looking out for.
Yeah, beautiful. Sounds similar to mine. I think mine's a little bit more, like when I started it, it was more based on busy mums, obviously, and how they get through the day and how they can be more productive during the day. And what I'm finding is that a lot of my guests are business women because they've had their first kid and then they realize, I don't really want to go back to work, or how am I going to go back to work, trying to juggle the whole thing. And they've usually started like a bit of a hobby, which has turned into a business. So it sounds very similar.
Yeah, like podcasting for me was a side hustle and it still is, but I'm in a process. I also have a product business called Tutu. So if you haven't already figured out from my funky accent, I'm not from Australia. I'm from Finland. So in Finland, the government gives every new mother a Finnish baby box, which is a cardboard box essentially, size of a bassinet with the mattress and all the goodies that you need for the first few weeks and months with your baby.
Wow.
So I brought the concept here in Australia and I started my business called Tutu and selling the Tutu baby boxes. And we've been going now for just over 2 years. And we just recently have some great success with Indigenous communities and providing the box for those parenting and motherhood projects, like the first 1,000 days projects that they have going. And that's been very good. But end of the day, life changes. And, I've just come to the realization that I've changed as well in the process. And I don't have the passion for the product business as I used to.
No.
So I'm in the process of selling the business, or if I can't sell it, then I will have to just fold it.
Fold it up.
Yeah.
Oh, is it not profitable enough, or you just can't, you just don't have that fire in your belly anymore?
More so not the fire in my belly anymore, because we did changes in the last 6 months so that it's now profitable. It's just started to make money. And with those bigger orders that we've been doing, some of them we hope are going to be continuing, that we're going to have like every few months of those. So that means that there is the cash flow there. But at the same time, like we moved to this lovely beachside town called Thirul in the south coast in New South Wales. And my son started school and my younger one is in preschool. So I just realized they actually need me more. And the hours that you have during the school hours, it's just not enough. And also my younger one was diagnosed with a disorder, which means that he needs me even more than what I anticipated. So life changes. And I was first quite, I would say, pissed off and angry, frustrated and everything, all the emotions in the world when we started looking at back in the May that, you know, we have to do changes in the business, we have to do changes in our lives, and what are we going to do? But then I kind of realization that all these things that I've learned in the past few, you know, years, that how I can utilize them in other areas in my life. And also I have other business ideas, and my husband is like, please, let's just finish with one before we start.
Sell one, put that to bed, continue with your podcasting, and then, you know, that's the thing, like product-based businesses are hard. And the thing is, you may have the passion for the product, but that's all good and well. But at the end of the day, the business is basically a pick, pack and send out manufacturing business. That's our business, where it's kind of got to. And all that really fun marketing stuff that you still have to do is sometimes only a small portion of it. Like you get to do like a few Instagram posts and things like that, and you want to do more of it to get more growth. But as you get more growth, you got to send out more orders, which take more time, you know. So like you end up being like a pick pack manufacturing facility. So I think people think, like when they look at my business and my husband's business, Milkman, it looks more glamorous than what it actually is.
Yeah, everything always looks so much better when you look at someone's website and you look at their socials. When you start talking to them and you get the nitty-gritty details about running a business from your garage, it's like, it's not the same. And I think with me also that I felt that my creativity wasn't utilized. I didn't feel that I was using my, you know, all the areas of myself that I wanted to. Like I wasn't creative, basically. And I feel that doing the podcast is one way of kind of getting that creativity out.
It is. And it's also, I find that I can connect with women that are similar mindset to me that are not in my area. You know, like I'm not just limited to the mothers at school drop off and pick up. Like I've expanded my network by doing podcasting, which I think is quite good.
And I'm like, I have a verbal diarrhea, like my friend said, that podcasting is perfect for you because you just cannot shut up. So I don't know, maybe there's a new career here for me in podcasting. I don't know. We shall see.
Well, maybe we could do a couple of episodes together and like bounce parenting ideas off each other. That might be pretty cool, and then share it on both channels.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just describe for us a day in the life of you, Susanna.
Day in a life. Okay. Typical day would be probably when I drop off my kids, we then to walk down the school and preschool, after which I then walk down the beach. So I can just see the sea over here when I'm looking over the window.
Lovely.
Just walk to the beach and have a run and just exercise, and usually listen to podcasts. Mums with Hustle is my favorite, or Jenna Kutcher, another favorite, Gold Diggers podcast, and listen to some podcasts or music, and then to my exercises. I recently destroyed my right knee. I had a ACL rupture, which is
sounds painful.
It is very painful, and I've just been given clear to go and do some running, so I'm really excited about that. And after exercises, I tend to just walk back to home and then jump into my emails and social media or any other tasks. And then if I have to go and do some boxes, get them prepared or answer any inquiries from my suppliers or from my clients. And that's pretty much the day gone. And then you're like, oh, it's 2:30. I haven't even had lunch. Quickly eat something, shoot out at the door, pick up the kids, and then it's after school activities, whether it's the beach, the rugby training, the soccer, or whatever it is. And then coming home, and usually I try to start doing the dinner before I go and pick up the kids. So chop the vegetables or whatever to make it ready. And it's usually like those that you just put it in an oven or something easy like a one pot wonders is my favorites. And then in the evening after kids have gone to sleep about 7:38, if I have still anything to do, I will check my emails or any other things that I have to do. And and that's about what day is done. Bed by 9.
I was going to say to you before you were doing the tutu boxes, finished baby boxes, what were you doing? Like, you obviously had your babies, but before that, what was your career or job?
So prior kids, I was quite high up in this corporate, ladder. I was a global quality director for a company called International SOS, which is a medical and security assistance company. And I was based here in Sydney, but I looked after US military contracts. So I was traveling quite frequently to the US, Germany, upscale locations in Asia and Singapore and London, and you just name it. When I was pregnant with my first one, this is the job I was doing.
Yeah.
I went around the world twice.
Oh, goodness.
On business trips. So, I was traveling a lot, but I was never going to go back to that job after I had my son. And the other thing was that I'm a pilot, so I was flying planes all my free time. So when I was back in Australia, I was gaining hours towards my pilot license, which I hope to complete before the birth of my son. So I was flying planes up until the point that I couldn't pull the stick because of my tummy was so big. And then I finished flying, and when my older one was 3 months old, I was back on flying again.
Wow. My brother's got his pilot's license, and then it's hardcore. Like, the study alone, like, you need to be a bit of a brainiac. Or really passionate. A maniac.
Brainiac. My husband hates flying. Like, he's only been in a plane with me once, and he's just like, it was like being in a small washing machine in the back seat, and you have no control over anything. So he did not like it.
No, I like the bigger planes. Obviously, I don't want to get that motion sickness happening. So he never actually took me up on a flight. I think he took Mum up. And I've seen him drive, so I just can't fathom how he can fly a plane,
Well, my sister, who came to visit me from Finland, I took her up for a flight when I just came back to flying after 3 months off. And she said, well, you fly plane better than you drive a car. So backhanded compliment, I think.
Yeah, my family's good at doing that, the backhanded compliments. Oh, blah, 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 I miss you, but why did you leave us, Okay, cool. So what is the best advice you've received?
Best advice I've received? Ooh. I would have to say that you should not kind of regret anything that you have done in life, I used to people regret things that they haven't done rather than things that they have done. Mm-hmm. And also in business side, you should think about that, when you're hiring people and they're not right fit, or the contractor is not the right fit, you just fire them fast. So hire fast and hire faster, because you should be cruel to be kind in terms of, if it's not working for you, you have a business, you should just get rid of the person. And
yeah, well, it all costs money in the end. Time is money, and when we hire, we actually hire for personality and the right cultural fit, because we can teach everyone the skills that we need.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. And being in a corporate world where I did a lot of interviews for high positions in the company, and it was sometimes like, okay, look, they might not have the exact skill set, but their culture and personality wise they fit in, or the language wise. And I had a team of like 15 people around the world that I was managing, and there was different people who English wasn't their first language, and like English is not my first language, and there's cultural things and all things to take in consideration. So then when I had my own business, and when you're hiring contractor to do something and it doesn't work, and it's like, well, sorry, I think we just have to say goodbye. This is not for right fit for me. So
it's a hard thing to do. Like I don't do it. My husband does it, and I'm like, I stand by his side and go, oh my God, that was so hard. Because I'm not very good with conflict. I know this for a fact that I'm not good with conflict at all. I'm getting better the older I get, but absolutely not my forte at all. So
Yeah. Oh. Gives me shivers.
oh goodness. So I was going to just say, like, do you, like, once you sell your business, what are you going to do? Like, have you got anything in concrete, like, that you're...
Well, I said to my husband last night, should I go back to work? And he was just saying, you have a job. And I was like, what do you mean? You have 2 kids to look after.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, but it doesn't pay that well. Well, you don't have to go and find a job. It's like, why don't you do something that you're happy with, something that you're passionate about? And I kind of almost feel that this year, beginning of the year when my son started school, and we just realized that things were not working with the business like we hoped for, that I was going through an exhaustive I was exhausted basically. And maybe I was even burned out, because there was a period of time where I just took like few weeks, I did do nothing, like I just do the bare minimum with my business, and I was just lying on the couch and I was just reading books and just kind of readying my brain to have a rest.
Yeah.
And I felt so much more energized afterwards. And I said, I still feel like I'm not 100% myself in terms of I'm not as energetic that I used to be. So I think the weight of the business is kind of pulling me down a little bit. So I'm kind of looking forward to starting from, scratch and just having a nice Christmas holiday and just letting it all be and just see where I go next. And it's interesting, I interviewed someone to my podcast, and this woman then said, well, once you sold your business and once you're looking to what you want to do next, give me a call, because I might have something for you. So it's nice to know that, people are appreciating you, and even that might not ever come into anything, but for her to say that, and meaning that, look, I might have something to look forward to, was like, oh, wow, that's nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I don't know, but I love the podcasting, and I'm looking to build my website, because I don't have a website. I have 30 episodes, but I have no website. So I don't have a product to sell with the podcast. And then I'm like, do I want to have a product? Like, do I want to have a service-based product, or do I just want to do a podcast? Because I find the interesting part is interviewing women in business, mothers in business, and about their journeys. And it's very intriguing what you find when you speak to these ladies.
Yeah, very much so. Now, you mentioned just then that you did spend a lot of time reading books and probably watching some Netflix in there as well. Am I correct?
Yes. Oh dear. All my secrets are out now.
What are your favourite shows at the moment?
Well, it's funny because I haven't watched Netflix for like months now, and then someone said to me, "Oh, check this this new BBC in drama in Netflix called Bodyguard."
Oh.
And I was like,
yeah.
"What's this about?" And there's like, oh, this. So I forced my husband to watch the first episode. And I was like, oh, this is actually quite good. Wow, BBC is doing some really quality stuff to Netflix. And, BBC dramas. I mean, we used to live in London. My husband is a Pommy. So we were obviously like, oh, this is quite good. So, yeah, that's what we're watching. And we're in episode 4, I think, at the moment. So tonight episode is number 5.
Yeah.
And, but book-wise, seriously, like, I would love to say that I'm reading all these really, positive books about self-growth and all that, but I'm just like in the, romance novel kind of genre at the moment. Like, you can just put your brains in the closet and take them out once you finish the book kind of thing. Like, I don't want to have anything heavy that I have to think too much. I just want to zone out basically when I'm reading. So that's my books that I'm doing at the moment.
Well, I'm reading the new one from Scott Pape. He did The Barefoot Investor. So now he's done a sequel to that called The Barefoot Investor for Families. So I think I love him, to be honest with you, because he's got it on the money. Like, he just has the lessons laid down in layman's terms so everyone can understand them. And I come from a financial planning background. I did 13 years in the industry, and I read his books and I think, I feel like I've wasted 13 years learning all these complex strategies when really it just boils down to cash flow. And I think I knew that back then, but the way he writes it, it's just easy steps to follow, easy steps to teach your kids to follow, and have a good relationship with money. So that book, if you've got a chance, if you want to turn your brain back on, just a smidge, just a little smidge. It's a really good book to read.
Well, it's interesting. I have heard a lot of good things about the Barefoot Investor, and I noticed that he has the other version, the family book, out as well. And I've been kind of thinking, like, maybe in a Christmas holiday when I'm up in the mountains, we always go for snowy mountains for Christmas, because it's the only place you can find snow. And coming from Finland, it's not a Christmas without the snow. So while I'm there, I might actually have to think about getting like a proper book, which is kind of like more heavy.
It's fun. Like, you buy the little jars, you get the kids to decorate the jars, and then every weekend or one night a week you have like this thing called a money meal, and you sit down and you talk about the week, and you know, you give them their pocket money and you watch them put all the dollars in the different jars. So there's a spend jar, there's a save jar, and there's a giving jar. So you just see, like, you don't tell them where the money can go, but each jar has to have something in it each week. So it's really interesting to see, like, one of my daughters put in like $1 in the give jar, and the other one split it all equally, like, because she's 6, so it'd be $2, $2, $2. My 9-year-old was like, $1 in the give, $2 in the save, and the rest in spend, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting because my son has kind of started talking about money more. Of course, being in school in kindy and having kids who do get money from their parents. And I remember being maybe not even 10 when I went to, you know, bank back in the day in Finland, and my mother opened my first bank account for me and said, "This is your bank account. This is your bank account book." You know, they have the booklet where you can see and this is the money we're putting in there. And then you have the piggy bank that you always, you know, put money in a piggy bank, and, you know, then, or the pig, you know, the porcelain pig, and then you take it to the bank and you empty it. So we tend to do that with the kids. But yeah, I think that's a great idea to have different areas where they put the money. And one of the other, like, talking about finances, is that when my older one was born 6 years ago, we opened him a savings account. And we just put a nominal amount of money there, which is like $25 each month. But that $25, by the time he's 18,
it's going to be massive.
Yeah. And I just like, you know, of course, hindsight, you think, why my parents didn't do this? But back in the day, it was a completely different world and a completely different thing.
So what Scott teaches you also, like, is that's fantastic to have money put aside for the kids. And I was doing the exact same thing. But by you doing it, is not teaching them how to do it. So it's like the saying, you know, if you want a man to eat forever, teach him how to fish, don't give him a fish. So it's kind of the same principle as like having your kids have a relationship with finances. So you don't want a kid that saves all their money and spends it on nothing. You know, like, you don't want like a hoarder of money kid. You want them to have a good relationship with it, spend a little bit, save a little bit, give a little bit away, and it not be this big burden thing. So, and I found, like, years ago when I started doing pocket money, it was just getting a bit like, I wasn't doing it right. Like, I'd give them $5 and then they would be naughty and I'd take it back, and, you know, it'd just be like this
punishment.
Yeah. And it was like, it wasn't a healthy relationship I was building up with the money. So this book is fantastic. And maybe we should stop talking about it and move on to the next question.
This is a Money Talk podcast.
Yeah, welcome to Money Matters. What is your go-to dinner?
We have few in this family, but chili con carne recently, and I kind of cheat because I put all the vegetables in a blender, so they're so small that kids can't find them. And then I put the beans and the mincemeat, and they eat it like, you know, like wolves. It's like a wolf pack, and it's all gone.
Will they eat? Is it hot? Like spicy hot?
No, what I do, I put the Mexa beans. You can buy these Mexican beans, and they're slightly like hot, and just paprika or what you call capsicum. Yeah, just one or two of those different colors. And yeah, it's not that hot. Maybe a little bit. My kids loves curries. We have curry nights as well. And then we have another Vietnamese dish, which is a minced pork and a soy sauce, kind of garlic, ginger, a stew kind of thing with rice or pasta. And then Italian casserole is another one, which is one pot wonder, which I love, one pot wonders.
My kids don't eat one pot wonders. Ours is like a la carte.
He calls me also. We can cook in my house as well, because my husband is like, oh God, Italian casserole again.
I love cooking.
Yeah, I love cooking as well. But I've also recently kind of when I started exercising, I realized I was eating too much carbohydrates. So because my kids love pasta and rice, they don't love potatoes that much. But the pasta, I was just like, I can't have pasta for lunch and dinner. Like they would eat it for breakfast if I were allowed. And I'm like, I just need to go back to the healthy eating me and just having salads and vegetables on the side. And both of them tries everything. Like they might have a salad or cucumber or, whatever vegetables we have. But the one-pot wonders. But like the other day, I didn't put it on Insta, but we had we were baking pizzas. My younger one was really tired and he was getting cranky and there was flour flying everywhere. I still have a mess in my kitchen.
Oh my goodness.
And we baked about, 16 pizzas.
What?
So 16 pizzas. They're like, plate-sized pizzas.
Oh my goodness.
Because we put them on a freezer then, we chop them in pieces and they get them for their lunch bags as well. But I make them to help me, so it's easier that way. Then they feel that they bake their own pizza and they put the things on top of them. Because we do the dough from the scratch as well.
Oh,
so with the dough and let it grow for an hour before you then start baking. So, and they love it. They just put tomato sauce, they put some cheese and pineapples and ham, and they're happy as Larry. But I would not eat the pizzas they made because I see what they do with it, drops in the floor and
pick their nose, wipe it in the pizza. Bit of saltiness there. Woo.
Yeah, love it.
Oh my goodness, it's good idea though, making it from scratch. I usually just buy the not even the pizza bases, just the Lebanese bread, because I like crispy, and so do my girls. Like my girls don't really even eat that much, to be honest with you. And when we have spaghetti, I don't tend to eat too much pasta either for the same reason, because carbs just stick to me.
Love it.
So instead, I make those zucchini boats. I get a zucchini, cut it in half, scoop out the middle part, and put the mince meat in it, and bake it, and it's delicious. So
I have to try that.
yeah, it's really good. It's easy as well. It's and you get to eat so much zucchini, which is so good for you, and it doesn't even taste like zucchini when you cook it well enough. It just kind of melts. It's delicious.
And it's also in the weekends, my husband tends to do the cooking because I'm come Friday evening, I'm like, what's the takeaway? Because mommy has had enough of cooking, 10 meals a week. It's it's your turn.
Yeah.
And I'm going away for spa day tomorrow with my girlfriends to Sydney, so I'm not going to be here to do any cooking. And I'm like, the husband, your problem. I can go to shopping and get you the food, but it's your cooking this weekend again. And he's happy to do that. But my husband's repertoire is slightly limited, so...
That's okay. Look, at least he's doing it.
At
least he's doing it. Beggars can't be choosers, right?
Exactly.
So the next question is, what is your greatest fear and how do you deal with it?
Snakes.
Oh.
Living in Australia, that's probably not the good answer to have, but I really don't like snakes. Even going to a zoo where you can touch them, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to touch it. Now that we moved in a house where we have a land around us, it's a little bit I haven't seen any, and my husband is not telling me, but I think he's seen a few.
Oh, God.
The neighbors say that you have red belly black snakes or brown snakes on where we live, but I haven't seen any. We saw a dead snake on the driveway last summer, but that's as close as encounter. But yeah, snakes are just not my
because you can't even put anything around your house to stop the snakes from coming close, can you?
No, we had a pest control. They do all the spiders and all that, and they just said, look, the best thing is to have is kids running around on the ground, because the ground is then shaking, or having a dog who just runs around, because they don't like the earth moving, and that will keep them away. And also not having water. So we had a pond when we moved there, which had fishes on it, but not having the pond anymore, we landscaped the garden, so get rid of it. So that kind of is another way of kind of avoiding having them. And they said that when we were landscaping it, that they did find holes in there was a rock wall, and there was holes, and they said there probably was snakes there, but there wasn't any when they were doing the landscaping. But I'm closing the doors every time you come in, close, do not leave the doors open.
Oh my God.
Reading stories when someone says, oh, there's a snake in my bathroom and it came from the open door, it's just oh.
God, that's awful. Ugh. Okay, so I've got 3 quick questions, and then I'll let you get on with your shopping, because food shopping for your husband.
I know, he's a lucky. I'm
Lucky
not gonna
man.
say what. Lucky man.
Lucky man.
Lucky man.
You've probably mentioned this before, but what websites have you signed up to recently that you find value in receiving their emails?
So I'm a big fan of Tracy Harris and Mums with Hustle, and also Jenna Kutcher and Gold Diggers podcast. I think they both have very valuable tips. And even after 2 years doing social media, Pinterest, Instagram, and everything else, just listening to their podcast, but also the website when they send you weekly newsletter with blog posts and information and tips, you just like, wow, that's really that's really something. It's like, wow, I didn't know that. So yeah, those 2 definitely. There's some other ones, but I've been actually in a process of unsubscribing a lot of, because I just realized my inbox is so jammed full back of
Crap.
Newsletters, because you'd sign up for something 2 years ago which you don't actually need anymore. It was valid for that 1 week 2 years ago. It's not valid anymore, and they're still sending, and you're like, yeah, I need to get out of this.
Some of those emails I have unsubscribed so many times, and they keep coming, and I'm like, why? Like, even with Facebook, I was getting emails for every notification. And I'm like, why is this happening? So then I had to go into the settings or something and uncheck one little box. And that was like, if you do 20 likes a day on something, or like you comment somewhere, that's like 20 emails from Facebook telling you what you've done. It's like, I know I've done that. I did it. You don't need to send me an email about me putting a like on a particular post.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. What's one piece of advice you give your pre-baby self?
I would say finish that bloody commercial pilot license as well as the PPL. Also, I would say travel. Like, I've traveled a lot because of my work, and I've had to, go very interesting places like Papua New Guinea and the border of South Korea, North Korea, and things that you probably wouldn't go with kids, or things that you didn't do when you have kids. So traveling, doing all those things that you're passionate about, all those things that you think, okay, I can do it later on, rather do it now, because later on when you have kids, your priorities change. The corny saying like your life will never be the same is so true. So do it now, because
that's interesting you say that, because when I was younger, I had no passion to travel. We did a lot of traveling when I was a young kid, with my dad being in the RAF and stuff like that. We moved around quite a lot. So by the time I was ready to move out of home, I didn't actually want to go traveling. I just kind of wanted like a permanent residence for a few years,
because you've been traveling so much, so you didn't have the urge to go anymore.
Exactly. But then I got the urge back after I had the kids. And then we moved from Perth to Sydney. So that kind of relieved my itchy feetness for a little bit. But like, it's just now that the kids are getting older, they're 6 and 9, that I want to travel again, like travel more with them and share the experience. So I'm a little bit different to most people out there, I think. Like, I didn't want to travel when I was in my 20s. I wanted to do it. Like, I never had the urge to go backpacking. That was one thing I did not want to do. I didn't want to go on a Kentucky tour and do that kind of crazy stuff. I was like, whoa, that's just disease-ridden right there. And when I did travel, I kind of wanted to stay in places that were really nice, like resorts, I
mean, like, I traveled in my 20s when I moved to London from Finland. I did do traveling, but I didn't do like any tours or anything. And I had a job. I was a nurse, so I had a job and I get paid. And I didn't have the urge to go traveling. But then once I met my husband-to-be and we bought our first place together, and I was like, oh, we should do all these places now, because you never know where you're going to move next.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of like give and take. But now when my kids are older, like next July, we're planning to go to Europe. My 4-year-old has never been in Finland. His grandparents in Finland has never seen him physically. So we're going to go to London, Edinburgh, then again back to Helsinki and to a tour of Finland and show all the places where we used to hang out when we were younger, where we used to live and see all the family. And then after that, you come back home and you're like exhausted and you need another holiday to recuperate.
A chill holiday.
Yeah.
And Susanna, the final question. What is the most useful or useless baby item you had? Because like your baby's 4 now, so.
The one that I said I wish I would have bought was the Finnish baby box. So at the time, 2012, when my son was born, nobody was selling it in Australia. Hence, one of the reasons why I brought the concept to Australia. And I wish I would have bought it at the time. But my mother said it would have cost 600 Australian dollars to buy it in Finland and ship it over to Australia.
Yeah, okay.
So we didn't do it because of the costs. But I wish I would have. But it's so useful because, bassinet, it's going to go to landfill or you sell it or whatever. But the baby box, it's, sustainable and you can just, put it in recycling once you don't use it anymore. Yeah. Or you just keep it as a keepsake box or toy or whatever. So that's one thing I find it very useful. But then things like mittens, like we bought 10 pairs of mittens to my baby and I'm like, what are they for? What do you use them for? Like we were like clueless, like you put them in their feet. We had to like a Google mittens, what do you use, what do you use them for? And not every baby is the same. Like not all of them are scratching themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
They were just the most useless thing ever.
And you can use baby socks as
exactly.
mittens.
Yeah, it's probably more useful than mittens.
Well,
they're cute but useless.
Cute and useless. A lot of baby toys are cute and useless, as I am discovering with these many women that I'm interviewing. So thank you so much for being a part of the podcast this
Pleasure.
morning. It's been great having you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Busy Mum podcast. Don't forget to let your friends know and also subscribe to the iTunes channel and also my socials if you want to see what I'm getting up to. A brand new episode is out every Monday morning, just like clockwork.